bring our next guest on to be my chief of staff. That's how well he understands the federal tax code. David Selig, federal tax practitioner. He's got on his specs at Newsmax, New York. David, that means you're breaking down the fine print. But before we get into specifics of what might happen in the lame duck session, generally speaking, what impact will Republican control of both houses have on business tax legislation in the next Congress?
Well, I'm hoping that no one gets too carried away. You know, we went through a period of unprecedented taxation. You have a lot of people who feel as so long as they're not paying for it, it's okay to increase taxes, to punish business, to punish entrepreneurs, to punish pretty much anyone who pays their way, and it's not right. So let's hope that these Republicans, now that they're in office, turn the spigot off on this outrageous taxation, and hopefully they'll get rid of a lot of the more onerous ones. For instance, that 3.8 capital gain increase, which may not sound like a lot if you're not paying it, but it is a bundle, particularly if you're selling a house or real property to fund Obamacare. That is a stinker, JD, and hopefully they'll wipe it right off the books.
Point made, point taken. Now, sir, what are 4 key areas you think we should be watching?
Okay, what I would like to see is the corporate tax reduced significantly, and I would like to go on record here. You hear a lot of rhetoric from the administration that they're amenable provided we close these tax loopholes. I am here to tell you, and I will stand up and defend this against all comers. We do not have loopholes in the Internal Revenue Code. Okay, that is a highly exaggerated claim by people who believe the only way to give to the have-nots is to take from the haves. It's a shame that we have departed from, you know, the American work ethic. Go out, make your own, and take as little as possible from those who are producing. They're the ones who are employing people. They're the ones who are paying the freight. It's not right, and hopefully, now that we control, or the Republicans control the House and such, they will get a handle on this nonsense.
And there's one other thing where you could grab the handle, and forgive me for mixing metaphors, whether it's grabbing the handle or picking the low-hanging fruit. The whole notion in this lame duck session of tax extenders, because of things already in the tax code that so many different people have come to depend on. Will we see in this lame duck session Dave Camp in his final days chairing the Ways and Means Committee move forth the tax extender package?
Well, we need these, to say extenders, we really need to make a lot of these provisions permanent. Unfortunately, on the other side of the aisle, you have people who even want to take away the mortgage interest deduction from so many people who are just barely getting by. So if it has to be short-term patching, let's take it now. But I think we need some real pragmatic overhaul of the system. We have to be business friendly, and we have to be producer friendly. You know, there is a lot of talk. People are upset because they see large corporations and mid-sized corporations going overseas. Well, that's because the administration has been kicking them square in the patoots, and they have just had about enough. So I think what we need to do is control our losses and make the United States business friendly once again, because I want to tell you something. We are the best. There is not another nation in the world that can hold a candle to the United States. We've just got to get the tax code in order.
David, quick question here. What is the likely direction you think the leaders will try to take Congress as far as changing corporate tax rates?
Well, you know, I'm biased because I believe the corporation tax should be lowered significantly. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people who have never been in the private sector for a moment of their lives. They went from school right into public service of sorts. So I am cautiously optimistic. Let's hope that common sense will out.
Well, to that end, you know, it didn't seem like it initially when I was elected to Congress 20 years ago and Bill Clinton was President of the United States, and yet in my second term, we had a tax cut. It was modest given the parameters that we knew the president would sign, but we got it done. Under the notion of what we saw with Bill Clinton, and mindful of that old saying in American politics, only Nixon can go to China. Is there any chance Granted, this president's commitment to his ideological moorings, but is there any chance to help his party in the upcoming election after hearing from former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Clinton about a more favorable situation? Could he be persuaded to join with Republicans and lower that corporate tax rate? Any way that might happen?
Well, I wish it would. Unfortunately, in the face of a groundswell, he turned around and said he will circumvent Congress, circumvent the House if needs must. And unfortunately, it does not appear that he is necessarily tethered to reality. Rather, this ideology, hoping they can get a true reprieve and not just a temporary reprieve until the balance shifts again, and then they drop the hammer on these individuals. It is not right. You know, I would like to say a lot of the people who have been weighing in on this issue, even many of the voters and supporters, they just do not have a dog in the fight because they are not paying taxes. So let me go on record on this Veterans Day. A person is not a taxpayer if they do not pay taxes. If they get back more than they receive, they are not really a taxpayer. So I don't know if they should be weighing in on things they do not understand.
Fair enough, David. 30 seconds remain. You get the last word, 20 seconds. Above all else, what would you like to see change in terms of tax policy?
Well, I would like to see some common sense here, okay? In other words, when an individual has a problem, he should be able to work it out with the government. The government would collect a lot more money if they departed from some of the later
You have made
practices.
the most shocking assertion. David, you've asked for common sense in Washington. We will end it on that hopeful note. Thanks so much for your time.